Good evening. What a delight and a bit of a surreal moment to be here. It is really an honor to be awarded the Oxford Art Book Prize. To Her Excellency, Miss May Ellen Stenner, Dr. Alka Pandey, the Oxford Bookstore, and the eminent jury, Miss Preeti Paul, Miss Sunaina Anand, Miss Apurva Kakkar, and Mr. Anjani Kumar Singh. Thank you for your discernment and unanimous decision to award my book. Evan Souza, the archetypal artist, is the result of a 12-year research project. Or more accurately, a 12-year act of surrender. However, the long journey can be primarily summed up in just a few words: serendipity and meaningful coincidences. The book insisted on writing itself, and all along I felt it had a strong will of its own. Souza was a genius, a cerebral artist, and he took me to various extensions into philosophy, psychology, anthropology, the sciences, art history. His artwork, an ocean of knowledge watered by many streams. For decades, even after the passing of the artist, the mainstream narrative is about his personality number one, his external life, the ego consciousness. This book is exclusively about his personality number two, his inner life, the conscious-unconscious process of the artist, the creative imagination, and the art on his canvas. The chaos, messiness of his life, because he was always known as the famous artist and the infamous artist. So the chaos and messiness of his life and creative imagination on the other side solidified my belief in conundrums and the exquisite beauty of human beings. But books, like children and revolutions, don't alive alone. I owe it to my excellent publisher, Neogi Books, with a blend of old world rigor and contemporary flair. They nurtured the manuscript into something finished, formatted, and beautifully designed. To Tultul Neogi, the matriarch, who keeps the flame burning. To Trisha Neogi, brilliance and ideas, whose inventive energy lights the way for books to reach far and wide in the world. To Bikash Neogi, steady hand on the wheel. The editorial director, Nirmal Kanti Bhattacharya, a literary connoisseur, and the voice of encouragement when this was still a manuscript. And my editor, the formidable K.E. Priyamvada, who wouldn't let me off the hook till every reference and endnote was perfectly aligned, exactly where it should be. The book cover by Misha Oberoi and Shashi Prasad, the designer of the book, who's in reckoning today. Thank you so much, the all of you. Thanks also to the Raza Foundation, Mr. Ashok Vajpayee, who had some very meaningful words to say today. And the Dhumimal Gallery, Mr. Uday Jain, whose timely support and funding helped turn research into reality. In 2022, a decade-old solitary research and writing project morphed into Amati's painting, La Dance. A circle of people joined together, holding hands and dancing. Amongst the worthy contributors who stepped up, first and foremost, Debashish Banerjee, the great grandson of Abhindranath Tagore, who lent the project gravitas by writing the foreword. The Sousa Estate, auction houses and art collectors, Sotheby's, Christie's, Saffron Art, Jane and Quito Dabor, Dhumimal Gallery for those invaluable art images and rights. My gratitude also to a constellation of museums and libraries across India and Europe who let me loiter for hours on hand, sometimes days, amid their treasures. And I'm thankful to them for not calling the security at the end of the day to drive me away. And now, a quick genesis of my book. In 2011, I was grappling with the wounds of what Ashish Nandi might call a post-colonial psychic hangover. His book, The Intimate Enemy, Loss and Recovery of the Self, became a mirror. I was in search of something more sovereign, psychologically, culturally, and spiritually. And I felt a visceral connect with the uneasy space in Sousa's art. Provocative, thought-provoking, and wildly cathartic. I think this was also made possible because I had been marinated in Carl Jung's psychology for over a decade, and I began perceiving new insights in Sousa's body of work. Shadows and archetypes danced on his canvases. What drew me in was that a 16-year-old young artist had come out with such emancipated figures and heads on his canvas. That means the churning process in his psyche began when he was just 12, 13 years old. Very soon, I came to believe that Sousa's art was an exercise in shadow work of the collective human consciousness. Sousa mined images from his unconscious, overlaying a grid of the collective unconscious. Everything we had suppressed, rejected, marginalized, and feared as a society stood glorified on his canvas. The erotic, the sacred, the grotesque, the feminine, the fractured. Sousa's modernity mirrored a wounded psyche as he wrestled with post-colonial, post-war, and post-enlightenment paradigms. He wasn't afraid of the dark. He plumbed it and painted it. I went with Sousa because he's an archetypal artist whose ego was subservient to primordial forces in his psyche. I went with Sousa because of his radical honesty. I went with Sousa because he had the audacity to drag the unconscious onto the canvas. I went with Sousa because he refused to apologize for his female nude. They are not bodies, but philosophies. And not one is shy, skinny, shamefaced, self-effacing, self-conscious, shrinking, or sheepish. On the contrary, the female nude is luminous, bold and beautiful, sacred rebellion in a world that has denied the feminine. And I went with Sousa because his head series is an imagined alternate consciousness. Why do we do what we do after the war is a thinking that was prevalent. Why we are the way we are. and his head series offers maps of possibility, a manifesto for alternative ways of being and thinking. On April 12, 2024, the centenary of Francis Newton Sousa, this book, 12 years in the making, was delivered into the world. As an author, I'm excited to be on this exciting journey with my book. I look forward to the many lives of my book as it comes back to me, refracted through the reader's mind. Each fresh pair of eyes codes new meanings and perspectives that expand my thought and generate enriching conversations. An artist, however good he may be, has not succeeded unless the work elicits an emotional response, which in Indian classical art is known as the rasa in the audience. This can be made possible when the audience is knowledgeable too and sensitive to what they are looking at. In Sousa's words, beauty does not lie in the eyes of the beholder, but in a cultivated mind. My work on Sousa is a thrust towards that goal. Thank you.